What's going on? What's going on, Mountaineer Nation, and all the people who tune into Relatively Sports, which is my show. I greatly appreciate you guys each week. I got a gym on today, someone that I've known for quite some time. He's a great man, great coach. He actually was one of the major reasons why my son Brandon Napoleon was such a good quarterback in high school. None other than the head football coach at well, let me start that over because I was about to say something else at Seton Hall Prep High School in West Orange, New Jersey. This is none other than Billy Fitzgerald. We call him Coach Fitz.
Great to be with you, man.
Listen, I appreciate you for taking the time. I know you're busy, but thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh, absolutely. But I know you're busy. You wear many hats, producer, author of the show. You have a wonderful, wonderful son. You're a great dad and a grandpa, too. So I know you're busy.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
So if you can make the time, I can make the time.
Absolutely. I want to go back to something. I don't think people really understand what it takes to navigate the positions that you have in all your coaching careers. But when did you first get the love to coach? And was it something that the minute you was as a player, when you decided to stop playing, was that in your future?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very lucky. I'm the son of a coach. My dad was a high school and a college coach. And he was a phys ed teacher as well. And at a very young age, I would go to his classes and visit his classes. And he was a phys ed and a health teacher. And I saw the way that the students loved him. They gravitated to him, and he would joke with them, and they would ask his advice. And I got to see him as a head coach. He became a head coach when I was the age of 10. And he took over a struggling program, and he made them winners right away. And I saw the relationships that he had with his players, and I knew I always loved football, and I started to see it from a different lens. And at some point in time, we realized we can't play forever. And as my college career was coming to an end, I had a great opportunity to coach at Utica College as a graduate assistant in New York, upstate New York. And that was kind of my first thought of, hey, maybe this could be a profession for me. But I was, infected with coaching and saw and met so many coaches at a very young age.
Wow. You know what? It's funny. I always say inspiring positive change in the life of others is really something that I try to live by. And I think there's no better way to do that than other than being an educator or a coach. And I think they're one and the same, because when you're working with young people as a coach, you truly are using whatever that sport is to kind of teach them how to navigate through life. So watching you over the years, and I'm going to tell you something, it's funny. I've always had such high respect for you because the way that you taught the game, it wasn't just about the wins and losses, but it's the mental approach that you took to coaching these young people. And a lot of them became successful because of that approach. So right where you are right now, I know that had to be something, like you said, because of your dad, but what are your philosophies that I guess you took from your dad to help you build on the rock that you are now? Because you are a phenomenal coach. So what philosophies did you take from your dad?
Well, I think number one, you have to be true to yourself. And I kind of, it might be very simple, and I just want to treat people the way that I would want to be treated. I was very lucky because I also had coaches who treated me very well. And I think that you're coached, or you coach the way that you were coached. And I had, great role models there. Obviously, Rich Hansen extremely well. And he was as good of a role model for me as a player in high school, and did so many great things and sent so many players off to college at all levels, obviously Division I, but, people come back and they have such a great relationship with him. And that's something that he preached. He always talked about relationship. Before games, his pregame talks would be about the relationships we have with each other. So I think that from a philosophical standpoint, it really starts there. Um, a bunch of cliches can be, are talked about. Nobody cares how much you know until they know how much you care, and I believe that, and I try to live that way and teach that way.
Now, this is a difficult question. How hard was it for you to leave St. Peter's Prep to go to Seton Hall Prep?
It was hard because that was all I knew, as a student athlete, and then coaching there for 10 years.
Right.
But I wanted to challenge myself, and I had a great apprenticeship as an assistant, and it was time for me. We had so much success there. It was time for me to spread my wings and take a chance to run my own program. And luckily, the job at Seton Hall Prep opened up, and it's a tremendous fit for me. And I love it here, and the way that the school handles the academics, the character building, and the athletics, and that mix. It's a great mix for me. It's a great situation for me, and something that I've really enjoyed, these past 5 seasons.
Wow. So now, what's interesting about high school sports, and as we see this thing at the collegiate level with the NILs and all these other crazy things, as a head coach, is it difficult for you when you look at a kid and you're trying to measure where they are as far as student athlete at the next level? How difficult is that to tell a parent, listen, I know you think in Division 1, maybe your son fits in a Division 2 or even a Division 3 program. Are those hard conversations to have?
They're hard conversations to have. I think the key is to be upfront, is to educate not only the student athlete but the parents. So we have a recruiting meeting early on in the off season. It used to be we had it in the spring. Now things are just everything happens so fast. We had it in January, and we talked about the process from the GPA to visits and everything in between. And then I offer, hey, come in and sit with me individually, and we can talk kind of, what I'm hearing from coaches and where I think that you may fit. And I want what they want. I tell them up front, I want what they want. But sometimes we don't always get what we want. But there is a place for just about everybody, at the next level. It might not be at West Virginia, but there is an opportunity to continue, playing football and having a meaningful experience doing that. But we do a really good job, our staff, educating the players and giving them the exposure that they need. That's another great thing about Seton Hall Prep. We have 107 schools come in the recruiting period that just passed. We'll have 107 more when it opens back up in April. So you're going to have the exposure here. People are going to see you. And I think the difference is that the parents and the student athlete needs to know is, wherever they're going to go, that guy is depending on them to feed his family. So, it's going to be a cutthroat evaluation process. It's going to be serious. It's going to be business-like. You need to understand that. And then, all this other stuff going on with the transfer portal has thrown a whole monkey wrench into high school recruiting. So, we're learning about that as we go. I don't have all the answers on that, but we are learning that is an important factor at a lot of these schools when it comes down to the scholarship numbers.
Absolutely. And that's a difficult thing, Coach. And you're 100% right. I talk to my son about that all the time. It's people don't really understand. I figured that was going to happen soon as the transfer portal opened and soon as the opportunity started to spread where you got people coming in from all over the country. I knew that was going to take some semblance of a hold on high school recruiting and kind of hurt it in a way. But the funny thing for where you sit, I was just mentioning you today to one of my students who's an eighth grader and talking about the different, types of schools that you can go to. And if you're not a serious student at the eighth grade level, schools like St. Peter's Prep, schools like Seton Hall Prep, they're difficult to navigate as a student because people tend to think that it's just about the athletic side of it and they forget the academic side of it. And I know for sure the way we were raised, it's student athlete first. So do you get kids that want to come to Seton Hall Prep and not understand that importance of what it means to be a student first? I'm sure you get a few kids who knock on the door to say, Coach, hey, I'm a great player. Just take me as an athlete.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We're lucky that we, at a great place. We have a great reputation, tremendous facility. So that's kind of the first thing that a lot of people see when you kind of look under the hood, so to speak. There's a lot more that goes into it, and you first thing that we talk about is your leadership and character. We want to make sure that we are going to produce great leaders here. And the second thing we talk about is the academics. So we're not getting to football until third. If you can't handle the first two pieces, the third one doesn't matter. Unfortunately, there are a lot of people who still see it, the other way around. And a place like Seton Hall Prep and some other places, you have to be able to you gotta love all of it, because there's so many other things. Hopefully that you're mature enough at some point to realize it's going to make you a better person. It's actually going to make you a better athlete the way that you study. But sometimes some people are slow on the uptake with that.
Yeah.
I think that also that's one of the reasons why we've been successful, because our players are into the other things at the school, and what happens is they create relationships within their team, and with among their classmates, guys who don't play, and it winds up that they're playing for Seton Hall Prep, not just at Seton Hall Prep.
Wow. I love it. I love it. You know what? And I also think too, when you can create value for yourself, that means so much more. Like being a high character individual and also being a stud athlete, being a great student, you're creating value for yourself off the football field or off the basketball court or off the baseball diamond. And I think a lot of our young people don't really understand that. That's why it's imperative that someone like yourself in your position, you have no idea how happy I am for you, because I know the kind of man that you are. And again, that's what it's all about. You're inspiring positive change in these young people's lives. And when they get to a certain point, they'll look back on that and say, you know what, Coach Fitz taught me this. I learned this from just being around him. That stuff is infectious. To this day, I still stay in touch with my high school coach, Frank Gargiulo, and love him like a father, just a great man. And we were fortunate to have great men around him that coached us in high school. So you're 100% right, Fritz. It's a beautiful thing. So you got to give me some war stories. So what are some of the toughest things that you've learned as a head coach? Like you said, branching out on your own. This is your fifth year at Seton Hall, correct?
I just finished my fifth, going on sixth. Yeah.
Give me some of the tough things, some of the tougher games. When you lose a game, does that resonate with you and you can't sleep?
Yeah, I can't sleep after the win or a loss. It's interesting because there's always going to be there's always some fallout after the game. The injuries, maybe who thought they could have been used differently, and how I could kind of pick them back up and get them to focus on the next week. Yeah, Saturday nights are about 3 or 4 hours after the game. My stomach starts turning and starting to think of what we have to get accomplished next week. I think I think one of the biggest things is, and people always told me this when I was when I said I wanted to be a head coach, is the amount of football that I actually don't get to do. It's not the fundraising part in the off season, the admission season that we are a very big part of, as coaches, the recruiting, for our outgoing seniors and juniors and sophomores and freshmen. I mean, it's not just about the seniors anymore. We're getting calls on our freshmen. So the organization, the discipline in school, we're lucky with all those things, but they do take up a lot of time. So by the time I get to watch the film, I've done so many other things, and it's not just all about football. So that is probably the biggest adjustment, going from assistant to head coach.
Wow. Yeah, and that's a lot. Like you said, that's a lot. Your head's on a swivel 24 hours a day, and it has to be. I had a chance. I got to get to some of the games, obviously, in person. It's scheduling is hectic, but I had a chance to talk to someone who is, interestingly enough, very fond of the product that you put out. And the interesting thing was, I forget what game he was talking about. He had mentioned to me something about you don't lose your cool in the midst of all the chaos. And I'm like, wow, I wanted to ask you that because that's a pointed point. Because life throws a lot of different curves. And that was one of the things that stood out to this particular parent. It's like, I like that guy at Seton Hall Prep because you're at a game and it's a tense game, but you see how he goes through it and it's just everything is on point. I like that because I want my son to be in that environment. And I kind of chuckle because one thing I never really do when people say, like, I never say who I know. So it's easier to just really sit there and just have a genuine conversation because he didn't know how well I know you. And it was really cool. And I said, you know what? I want to bring that up in this interview because you need to know that people that you may not even know, they watch your mannerisms and they watch how you handle difficult things on the field. And it just speaks volumes of who you are as a person. So after the fact, I let them know, yeah, Coach Fitz is the man. I've known him since such. And they were like, how come you ain't say anything? I said, well, he was busy telling the story. I just want to listen. But kudos to you because that's why I asked that question. It has to be tough when you're in the middle of a game and you got so many different things going on, but you still have to remain calm under pressure, make sure things are done right, make sure your personnel is done, make sure that this play, and I'm sure, knowing you as well as I know you, this is chess for you, while it might be checkers for somebody else. You're already thinking 2 or 3 plays ahead. I
Yeah,
think that's awesome.
yeah. There's a lot to manage in a game, and I want to make sure that I'm thinking through. I think the best asset that I have is the staff. The staff that we have is just tremendous. We've basically all been together for all 5 years since I got here. There's been a couple of add-ons recently. They've been tremendous, but to have a staff stay together for 5 going on 6 years in this sport at our level is really, really tough. So we're really lucky to have those things. I think the other thing that I was taught, I don't know if it was by my dad or who else, is kind of be the opposite of what you see. So, like if we're in the weight room and we're maybe a little, relaxed and lackadaisical and not focused, I'm going to jump up and down and kind of, set the tone of how it needs to be. When there's chaos and everybody's chaotic, I want to be the example of, hey, I'm going to be relaxed. This isn't something that we're not prepared for, and we'll go out and operate the way we need to. So I think your mannerisms change based on the situation.
Right, absolutely, absolutely. When these coaches come through D1, D2, whatever the case may be, I'm sure to sit down and speak with you and kind of get a clear understanding of the kind of student athletes that you have at Seton Hall Prep. I know that has to help because I don't know if young people really get, as sure as you are going to a school like yours at that level and you get these D1 coaches to come in, they're looking for certain things. You know what I mean? And to hear it from someone like yourself who they know and respect for relationships years past, and now you're here doing what you're doing at such a high rate with such great success, that only helps. That only helps to push these student athletes further. So give me an idea. What does it look like when a recruiter comes in? Like, what are some of the things that they're looking for in a student athlete, at your school?
The first thing they're going to ask is can I see his transcript, or can I have a copy of his transcript? So they want to know, where he is, and in some places, can I recruit him? And that's really the key thing. They want to know his background. They'll ask about the family, any brothers and sisters. They'll a lot of times in scholarship situations, they may want to speak to our dean of discipline or maybe a teacher. So how they act in the school is important. And they want to know how he is in the weight room. And it's not necessarily the numbers, but does he know how to act in the weight room? Does he take it seriously? Does he get there? And we lift in the morning. We actually lift before school, which has actually been a very good thing for our recruiting because we're a lot of people's first stops, and they can see the kids moving around a little bit and lifting. And it's not about how much they're putting up, but their technique, which is tremendous because we have a great strength program, a great strength coach. Um, but how they go about their business. And so it really is the whole thing, because they see the film and they're going to know, that stuff is so accessible. They already know that part. It's kind of the intangible things and the things you see off the camera. That's really what they want to know about.
Wow, important. And I'm glad, because the reason why I framed that question the way that I did, I want parents and the young student athletes that's going to listen to this to understand, we get it's so one-sided. Everything is predicated on, if I run fast, if I can catch a football, if I can tackle well, I'm going to the next level, not understanding it's all the other things that go along with that, like you just stated, which is good. You turn the film on, you can see if a kid jumps off the film. Oh, wow, that kid got all of that. Now, let me go see if he has all the other things to go with the other intangibles to see if he fits what we're looking for. Everything has to be really, really good fit. And I understand that. What time, now you say you guys work out and lift in the morning. What time do you guys, get in the weight room?
So, Seton Hall Prep doesn't start school till 8:50, which is pretty late. So we're in the weight room at 6:30 in the morning. And we go till about 8 o'clock, and then the kids get something to eat, go off to their first class. So it's really, really good from to get that workout done. And then we have guys that do some other sports, in the after school. So our track guys or basketball guys or baseball players, they can lift after before, and then they go play their spring sport, their second their other sport after school. So that's a really good thing. Extra help time after school, the kids do that. So and then they get to eat breakfast right after they work out, which is really probably a little thing for a high school guy. That's an important thing, to get the nutrition in right after the workout.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. You guys have study hall?
We have, the way our schedule is worked out at Seton Hall, there's a study hall 3 times a week for every student. So,
man, I love it. That's what I've always been used to when you're in a high school, and it's interesting, like where you are, and you run your high school program like it's a collegiate program. So they kind of get used to the system already. So by the time they get to the next level, they know what's expected of them. I think that's just amazing. So this year's schedule, I'm sure it's a tough one. I hadn't had a chance to look at it. Anybody you got circled yet?
Well, every week is a big one. So we're every week is a test. So they're all circled just like we're circled for everybody else. We do have an interesting opportunity this year. We're opening the season against the Baylor School from Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we're playing the game in Dublin, Ireland. So yeah, so that's a great opportunity for our school, and obviously our players.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, let me tell you something now. I got to get on. I got to come down there and get in that weight room with you.
Hey, we're not too far from Rahway. We're not too far. We're exit 145 in the Parkway, so that's close. We got a couple of very good players from Rahway.
No, that listen, that's some good stuff. Now, I don't know how much I can still throw around, Coach.
Well, I can remember a few years ago, you beating everybody in gassers, so I'm sure you can do a little bit in the weight room.
I appreciate you so much. Before I let you go, is there any advice you would like to give a young student athlete that's either looking for a home in the high school level, or from you being the head coach, what they need to do if they're in high school already to get themselves prepared to go to college?
Yeah, number one, take care of your business in the classroom. Do the best you can. Go see your teachers. Take an extra 15, 20 minutes, a couple times a week to go see your teachers after school. Ask a question, to get some FaceTime, to get used to speaking to adults, and to learn a little bit more about the subject you might be struggling in. 2, you can communicate with the college coaches. It's not just them about, them reaching out to you. You can communicate with them. You can send out questionnaires. You will get information back from those schools. I think that those are really, really important. And focus on the things you can control physically. Get in the weight room. You know, you can work out with your team. You can do extra stuff on your own. Hard work is the recipe to success. There really isn't no secrets. So if it's important to you, you'll train. And we say to our guys, you want to be a college football player, work very hard at being a good high school football player, and you'll figure it out.
Wow. Coach, I appreciate you, man. Again, thank you so much for taking the time. Listen, this right here is one of the best coaches in the state of New Jersey, one of the best coaches on the East Coast. So you student athletes and your parents, please take a look at what Billy Fitzgerald's doing, Coach Fritz over there at Seton Hall Prep High School, West Orange, New Jersey. Man, I appreciate you so much, Coach, and I'm going to be in touch with you.
I appreciate you having me on. It's been a journey in New Jersey. 2009, Brandon came as a freshman, to St. Peter's. Loved coaching him. Have a great relationship with him. He does an unbelievable job recruiting. He does an unbelievable job on the defensive side of the ball. He is doing great things in the profession, and people notice, and that's a credit to you and the missus. And he's doing great things, raising a little one too. So you got to be ecstatic.
Oh, I am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Fritz. I appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate you.